I'll just note a quick distinction between offense and defense. You know, the idea of responding to the latest abuse and crafting a narrow remedy to fix it. I could tell a case study from here in DC recently. And in Arlington County, just across the river, more recently than that, county boards, I guess in DC it was the city council, in Arlington it was the county board, passed resolutions to impede local collaboration of police departments with the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. And the idea around a particular program called Secure Communities. It's one of the ICE access programs that aim very much to extend the enforcement of what have always been non-criminal, simple violations, right? And an immigration violation is the legal equivalent of a parking ticket. And we have, you know, cast our lot wholeheartedly into the enterprise of destroying families in the effort to enforce them. But the point I want to make here is that the local efforts to block collaboration with secure communities prompted a response by ICE this week. It was not official, but the senior official there, who was conveniently anonymous, claimed, well, that it doesn't matter what local police or city councils do, because secure communities, unlike its sister program, 287G, is not a program that entails voluntary cooperation with local jurisdictions. If a local jurisdiction wants not to give us, ICE, the information about arrest data and who within their jurisdictions might be undocumented, well, we'll just get it from the FBI. It's kind of like a middle finger to states and municipalities from the federal government. And so the point I want to draw here is that that was a narrow carve-out for a particular abuse, you know, driven by the interests of a particular community. That's defense. Offense is when you say, let's just dismantle the entire enterprise of surveillance that has emerged in the years since 9/11. It's come out a little bit in discussions, but whether you locate it in the FBI guidelines that authorize the initiation of investigations without any factual predicate at all and invite racial and religious profiling, whether it's the Suspicious Activities Reporting Initiative run out of the Director of National Intelligence's office, which systematizes thought crimes, and infusion centers that collect them, the Joint Terrorism Task Forces that also, you know, disseminate threat reports about, you know, usually imaginary threats, whether it's the warrantless wiretapping scheme hatched by the NSA and struck down as unconstitutional by every federal court ever to have reviewed the program on its merits, despite being having been authorized by Congress in 2008 with the support of our now president. The surveillance apparatus has metastasized. We live today in the most monitored surveillance society ever in the history of humankind. And I mean that. You know, you put East Germany during the Cold War next to us. The technology did not exist at the time for people to be so thoroughly watched. And we claim to lead the free world. There's a profound tension here. So we can play defense, right, in response to the latest scandal. Or by playing offense, we can identify what we actually want to see. I mean, what is that? What is the positive vision that is animating us? I think that part of it is the restoration of constitutional principles that have been in so many different instances derogated. And there is a power in mobilizing around abstract rights, particularly because they cut across context. And by cutting across context, that's the opportunity to engage different communities that plug in at different points, right? There are different communities that face Fourth Amendment violations from different federal agencies. For Latinos, it's ICE. For Muslims, Arabs, and South Asians, it's the FBI and CBP. For African Americans, it's the DEA and the FBI, right? It's the same struggle. And at the local level, it's all the insert here police department or the insert here sheriff's office, right? And so, you know, the local campaigns can unite these different struggles, even while at the federal level we find creative opportunities to align those interests. The last thing I just say is that for Muslim communities, I am a Muslim, but I lead a non-Muslim organization that is more civil libertarian. Includes mostly, our dominant demographic is white progressives with a smattering of white libertarians and some, you know, people of color among them. It is the difference between communities of color pleading for power and opportunity in the context of broader movements versus leading them, right? And so we can plead as supplicants to organize within our community and ask for narrow reforms that we might get if, you know, our allies or people with power, you know, demonstrate solicitude towards us, or we can lead broad coalitions that can force change. And what I find particularly interesting about Hartford is that we're forcing change. It is Joe Lieberman's backyard. He's the chair of the Homeland Security Committee. That's stated as committed to the vitriolic policy equation is almost inconsequential. The way the right wing got to this point to grip both political parties and our entire country by the throat is by losing fights for 20 years around insane, bizarre, unthinkable proposals that have now become accepted in the mainstream. The aggrandizement of executive power, that didn't happen overnight. That was a steady campaign to normalize a once revolutionary set of ideals. I would just propose that we can do the same. And the revolutionary ideals that I would propose to put forward are not ones that would be new, but like a true revolution, ones that we have seen before, ones even that animated the founding of this great country. I'm excited to be here. I'm very excited to see what this coalition will do going forward, and I'm very eager to hear your questions. Thanks.